Hello there. Welcome to this episode of Force Ghost Conversations. This is your host, Anthony King, and this week I am going to share some final thoughts, for now, about the book of Boba Fett. And before we get started, I'm inviting you to join the conversation with us. We can be found on Twitter at Force Ghost Pod. You can also follow us on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and TikTok just by searching Force Ghost Conversations. We look forward to connecting with you on those platforms. And also, please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review the podcast on your listening site of choice. And without further ado, it's time to gather around the campfire for some Force Ghost conversations. All right, everyone, we are back. And as I alluded in the preamble, this episode is going to just be some final talking points on the Book of Boba Fett, just putting a nice closing of the book, so to speak, closing this chapter of the Star Wars universe. So next week, you can expect me to talk about other things as we've covered this series at length over the last couple of weeks here. So just some final outlying things, some lingering thoughts in my head. But before we get into that, it's time for some news, some Cloud City gossip, ladies and gentlemen. And boy, did we get a lot of news this week. So let's dive into all this right now. First, there's a new Star Wars reference book that was announced titled Star Wars Timelines. The book is written by Kristen Baver, Jason Fry, Cole Horton, Amy Rakow, and Clayton Sandell. The all-new guide breaks down the in-universe history of Star Wars for a stunning visual guide that spans from the time before the High Republic to the fall of the First Order, encompassing the Skywalker saga films, live-action series and animation, books and comics, games, and more. If you've been someone who is curious about when specific events happened in the Star Wars universe, or if you're a canon junkie like me, then this book is right up your alley. Pick up your copy this November. Next, another book was announced this week called The Princess and the Scoundrel. This novel is written by Beth Revis and will come out this summer, featuring the wedding and honeymoon of Han Solo and Leia Organa. And get this too, folks, their honeymoon actually takes place on the Halcyon Star Cruiser, aka the Galactic Star Cruiser, the Star Wars hotel that you can visit starting next month at Walt Disney World Resort. For more information, as well as an interview with the author, check out the article on StarWars.com. For another piece of book news, another title was announced this week titled Star Wars I Am Your Father Lessons for Parents, Protectors, and Mentors. The book is written by Amy Rakow and Dan Zare, who appeared on Force Ghost Conversations last week discussing the season finale of the Book of Boba Fett. Go, Dan! This book shares some wise advice for parenting, mentoring, and families of all shapes and sizes, from fan favorite Star Wars characters such as Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, Hondo Ohnaka and Boba Fett, and The Mandalorian and Grogu. Pre-orders are available now, and the book will be released on May 10th. Finally, in music news, Film Music Reporter is reporting that Nicholas Breitel, I hope that's correct, could be Breitel, Nicholas Breitel, has signed on as the composer for Andor, the upcoming Disney Plus series. He also composed the music for the movies Moonlight, If Beale Street Could Talk, and Don't Look Up. Lastly, Variety is reporting that John Williams has composed and conducted the main theme for the Obi-Wan Kenobi series, which is slated to come out May 25th. The maestro celebrated his 90th birthday last week, and boy, what a sweet gift this news is. Now, keep in mind that Lucasfilm has not confirmed these hirings yet, so take it with a grain of salt, but it is exciting to have this news until proven otherwise. And now, on the other side of this break, we'll have our main topic for this episode today, some final thoughts, for now, on the Book of Boba Fett. Stay tuned. All right, ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. And I am just, this is an episode where I just wanted to put a bookend to the Book of Boba Fett. Just think about some things that have been lingering in my mind for the last couple of weeks here as we've gone almost 10 weeks or so engaging with this wonderful story that's been presented in front of us. And I hope that you all at home have really enjoyed the ride too, and enjoy coming each and every week to the discussions that we're doing here at Force Ghost Conversations. It's been really fun. I enjoyed a lot of it, and there's gonna be a lot to really go over in the series as we get more stories, more content, as we get different mindsets of characters, and we learn about their backstories and interpretations of how they first saw the events coming to pass. And we learn about side characters that were in the background, maybe, or were affected in some way, shape, or form. This series is going to be continually giving us some more uh, bread and butter, so to speak, about what it is like in the Star Wars galaxy at this point in time. And with this episode, I just wanted to contextualize some things that I think about in a different way now that we've had time to sit with the show, the series over the course of the last 8 weeks or so, and just dive into some of the stuff that's really stood out to me up to this point. And to start, I just wanted to say like that Tuscan stuff in episodes 1, 2, and to extent 3 was just really impactful. It was so important to see that Boba had this rebirth coming out of that Sarlacc pit. I mean, I firmly believe now that I have the whole series in my viewpoint here that the character that went into that Sarlacc pit and came out is entirely different person, right? That person that went into the Sarlacc pit, basically, that Boba Fett died, and a whole new Boba Fett was born out of the tragedy that was the Sarlacc pit. That character that came out was taken in by the Tuscans and molded by them in many ways. He learns in this group setting here what it means to be a tribe, what it means to be a part of a family, what it means to have honor. Right? That's a consistent theme now that I have time to think about this over the course of this series. Is such an impactful theme, right? It's what that last episode is called. It's in the name of honor. And frankly, when it comes to Boba Fett, this is where he learns about honor is with this family here. This tribe that he learned that it's better to be a part of something, be a part of a community, not to be out for yourself or working for someone else or be the lone gun for hire or be a solo wolf out in the galaxy. This is where you learn that there are strength in numbers, and there's even more strength in those numbers when you believe in something together and when you're helping each other, when you're doing selfless acts for each other, when you're helping each other achieve your own goals and values, and you have that shared sense of self, right? That really happens in this initial undertaking, right? We all joked to call them the flashbacks, right? At the time. But that is just really something that it stuck with me a lot. Seeing Boba get that gaffy stick, that whole journey he had to undertake in order to get it, that mystifying experience at the end of the episode where he really becomes a fully formed member of the tribe, and they do that dance around the fire pit. Gosh, that's a scene that really lingers in my mind when I look back on the series. And I hope it does for you too, as viewers at home. I hope you go back and rewatch those episodes a bit and just let it sit in the moment. Right? There's a very unique sense of storytelling when it comes to that. For a group of characters too that were very villainized for many years in the Star Wars galaxy until The Mandalorian season 2 last year, and of course the Book of Boba Fett. Right? We didn't really know much else about the Tusken Raiders aside from being this kind of thorn in the side to our main characters as they are traversing through the sands of Tatooine. And the fact that we got more knowledge of their culture and their heritage and how they have an ancestral claim to the lands of Tatooine and what it means to be an indigenous society in in Star Wars, right? These are some of the themes that are popping up along the course of this series. So Boba, he learns so much with these groups, and he's able to take that into the various actions that he does throughout the course of over the course of the series, right? Some foundational things here, and I like to think of that like Boba at this time when he's birthed out of that Sarlacc pit again. He's almost like a child, right? And he's so much formed, and this is a formative time for him again, right? He's learning how to be a new person. He's seeing a different perspective, a different point of view. He's changing as an individual, and he's being molded by the values and the shared experience and community of this Tusken group that really affects him throughout the course of the entire series that we know as the Book of Boba Fett to this point. So with that, I mean, we learn that he has these like moments where he learns like what it means to be selfless and what it means to take care of others, right? When he defeats that monster and he saves that Tuscan child at the beginning, and that basically helps him earn the respect of the tribe to begin with, and they start welcoming him as one of their own, right? It's that simple action that really leads him down the course of path here that will forever define his destiny moving forward. He could have easily stopped and let that monster do its wrath, take out the child. He could have went his own separate way after defeating that monster that arose out of the sand, and go his own separate path and continue to be the Boba Fett from before, that ruthless bounty hunter that was the man with no name in a way, shape, or form, that was a cold-blooded killer, right? As Cad Bane would eventually call him. He has this moment where he realizes that he can be something different, something better. He's going to learn from this experience in a way that he never has been forced to before. That's something that's really impactful for this overall series. The ability, there's these overarching themes of what it means to change. What does it mean to adapt? What does it mean to be a leader? What does honor mean in every sense, shape, and form? And to me, honor is doing what is right because it is right. It is being a selfless individual. And of course, that last episode is called "In the Name of Honor." And that what I realized over the course of my thinking about the series overall is that there are pieces of what it means to be honorable throughout the course of this series, and then it just comes to a head in that last episode as they all band together, right? Like I mentioned, I firmly believe that honor is doing what is right because it is right. It is being a selfless person. It is helping out others when they are in need of help. It is recognizing that and is doing the right thing at the right time. That Tuscan child needed help right then and there, and he helped him or her. I'm sorry, I don't know the gender of the child. It is what he did. He helps out the Tuscan group when they're being raided by the train, right? He does the honorable thing and he lets the Pikes go. I mean, to the detriment of what we've learned to find out. The Tuscans, they suffer at the hands of that, and of course that is something that affects Boba definitely over the course of the season. But he could have just mauled them down there, but he said no. There's a lesson to be learned here, and he lets him go. He says there's no need for some more mindless killing here, right? Lives are precious. Lives are precious, and I'm going to do the act of saving you here. And of course, along the way, there are all these instances of Boba helping others, saving them, right? Fennec Shand is a prime example of that. Fennec Shand, he saves her. He takes her to the mod gang or the whatever, and help and basically saves her life. Cammy Fixer at Tashi Station. He goes in there and takes out some of the speed biker gang group that was harassing them there. Now, of course, they don't join the cause, but he gets, he helps them out in the end. The Mandalorian helping him in season 2 was a very big aspect of what it impacts the story here. It's why the Mandalorian is so willing to help out Boba, basically for pro bono work in the episode 5, when he decides to at the end, when he basically says, I'm going to help out. He lets Black Chrysanthemum, or Chrysanthemum as the episodes mostly call him, he frees him Yeah, the Hut twins basically say he's yours now. He's not he's your property at this point. And Poe's like, you're free to go. We'll just, just be more mindful of who you take jobs from next time, right? And that those selfless act. I mean, the mod gang, there's a good. They're going to the streets of Mos Espa, right? He helps them out by giving them jobs and giving them a place of work, right? The Gamorrean guards, he spares their lives at the beginning. He could have easily taken them out, but he gives them, a choice. You can be loyal to me, or you can die, right? Yeah, that's basically the choice he gave them. But at the end of the day, it's still a choice. He let them choose their path. And of course, the people of Freetown are inspired in some way, shape, or form by the actions of Boba and what he stands for, and how he believes that I could be a ruler in some way, shape, or form here. He has a plan to get rid of these inept leaders that are taking over and ruining Tatooine. The Pikes are hurtling this spice in through here, and it's basically the Star Wars version of drugs. And it's corrupting the people. That it's harassing the town. Honor is such a big thing here, and what we learn throughout the course of this series is that as long as honor is helping people, that is, they are directly linked to each other. If you're an honorable person, you're going to be out there helping people, and you're going to inspire people to want to be a part of your cause just because you're doing the right thing. People will respect you because of that. People also will try to take advantage of you. That's kind of the nature of it all, but you're going to create this following around you, this tribe, this community where you're all striving for the same purpose of united under one path, united to create a better Tatooine, create a better world around you. This is a small rebellion that's basically taking place here on this planet, and in a nuts and bolts shape, if speaking, right. This is not necessarily on the grand scale of episodes 4, 5, and 6, where it's the rebellion taking out the Grand Empire, but this is a long established trade that's been on Tatooine for many years, and this is an usurpation of this mindset, and in many ways, shapes, and forms. That's very impactful, and what we also learn across the way is that those who are dishonorable are met with a terrible end, right? Even though Boba is clearly him and his gang and his group are not massive in numbers by any stretch. There's this determination and will amongst their group that they believe in everything that they're doing, and they are striving to this goal. They're willing to fight for it in the end. And it's that great conversation between Boba Fett and the Mandalorian when they're about to go out in that blaze of glory, that going down, like, if we're going to go down, at least we're going to go down fighting for a cause we believe in, and that's to free people and make them feel better, make them have opportunities and be able to make choices for themselves, self-determination, and all that. For those that follow the dishonorable path, they're met with not great ends. All the Aqualishs, the Trandoshans, uh, the Pikes, they're dead. They're for all intents and purposes, they're gone. All their numbers are gone. They're dwindling. They're off to the wayside. They're going to do something else. They're not coming back, from what I can tell. That Tatooine is a free place now. And what that lesson there shows is that although you might have strength in numbers, of course, if you're just hiring hands and people are acting out of their own self-interests in the real world, I mean, it's much better to be together as a group, banded together under under a leader that you believe in, and that who has a strong values and vision to coordinate you all in a united front, striving to help all people for the betterment of society, and for the betterment of themselves, and for self-determination at the very end. So honestly, I was wrapping my head around these themes of what it means to be honorable, and what it means to be, and what that title means. So that really was where I got this like little dissertation in my head that I just kind of rambled and ranted on to you all about here, about the series overall at large. And I talked to, because I asked that question to Dan during our discussion last week about episode 7, the season finale, and I asked him about the title of the In the Name of Honor, which is what they called the season finale. And I didn't really have the best answer off the top of my head for what it meant in a context. So I'm glad I was able to have this kind of like session here where I was able to sit with it for a bit, right? It's always okay to take some time to recontextualize, reanalyze, ponder, marinate with things. These stories aren't going to go away anytime soon when it comes to Star Wars. They're not going to they're not going to be altered too much as far as I understand, and as far as coming down the pipeline here. It's okay to change your mind. It's okay to have one viewpoint and watch the episode again and have a different mindset, right? We celebrate all points of view here at Force Ghost Conversations. We try to be as positive as we can, and that's kind of the point that we're always going to approach every episode and every piece of content that comes out when it comes to Star Wars. We're going to look for the fun and the joy of it all. And with that, I was able to, and with that approach and mindset, I was able to come to a more clear and respectful answer for that question. And I'm really thrilled I was able to present that to you all here today. So with that, I just also wanted to highlight some of the key aspects of the series that were really stand out to me. Episodes 5 and 6. Now, of course, I know the discourse online that was like Boba Fett's hardly in all these episodes, but I just was really wanted to praise the creators and the showrunners, the creative forces behind the series, that they were not afraid to go outside the box, if you will, to have almost a side story within the entire season of the Book of Boba Fett, right? You're not hindered into a box when you call something the Book of Boba Fett, in my opinion, right? Boba is still very much prevalent throughout the course of the season. He's very much at the forefront of everything that has taken place, plot-wise and context-wise. These are just some side stories that help add context to the side characters, and I'm thrilled that they were like, we're going to tell these stories right then and now. We get a sense of where Din Djarin is at after the impactful season 2 finale of The Mandalorian, where Grogu was taken by Luke Skywalker to go do some training, and Din has to go figure out what he's doing, what his next path is, what his actions are, and we learn that he's no longer considered a Mandalorian by his own tribe, and he's lost his son for all intents and purposes, and he's trying to find his new way in the galaxy and what it means to be him, who he is as a person. He's on this search for his own self, and a lot of that is determining who his new identity is. I like that they were able to bring that into the fold here, into the mix. It just shows that they're not afraid to take risks, right? Always be shooting for the stars when it comes to this stuff, right? Star Wars is not a creative box that you're shoehorned into. And themes are all present here throughout the course of what I would say are the main themes of the Book of Boba Fett, right? There's a lot of change. There's a lot of choices laid in front of Din Djarin. There are questions about leadership. And there are questions about honor. Those are some big themes that are prevalent all throughout the course of the Book of Boba Fett, and those 2 episodes particularly. So as long as something has the commonality of those themes throughout them, I think it's brilliant. It's brilliant. I'm really happy that they were able to do so. One last thing that I wanted to discuss here before we kind of conclude our closing the book for now on the Book of Boba Fett, right? Obviously, I mentioned this before. We're not going to be done talking about this. This series is going to live on. These characters hopefully will return back. We'll get comics and books and side stories, the whole gambit. But something that really is so impactful to me that I think will linger on for many, 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 many weeks, months, years down the line is something I'm coining as the introduction. I think those of you at home know what I'm talking about a little bit here when I call something the introduction. And that this is, of course, I'm referring to the introduction to Cad Bane in the series, right? From episode 6, the end point there, basically, with the episode called From the Desert Comes a Stranger, right? And this was the stranger that came from the desert. There's just this really wonderful, wonderful situation that is undertaken here that I could probably spend a whole episode talking about in its own sense. There is this like ominous wind that goes around in the course of the sequence. There's some like vaporizers or some like just sounds that are just going off in the distance from the wind, and you can hear the sand moving about, and there's just like these waves of sand and the graininess of it all. And there's this mirage like figure walking in the distance, getting both bigger and smaller at the same time. Uh, it's this is a really well done scene. I'm trying to struggling to think if there's any similar introduction in Star Wars that has had a an impact as much as this one, at least in terms of live action. Maul maybe to a degree with the dual lightsabers, but he was introduced a little bit earlier in Episode One, Phantom Menace. Vader has a very cool intro coming through the door of the Tantive V4 in A New Hope. So that one's probably a close two. Nothing really else comes too much to mind here other than that, though. So this may be the best just overall introduction of a character to live action, right? Of course, Cad Bane has had a lot. He's been introduced in the animated realm before in many ways. We got to see him a few months ago in the Bad Batch season 1, which is really cool. But this is, like, for all intents and purposes, this is to many, this is their first introduction to this character. And obviously, this is the first time that Cobb Vanth has seen this person before. He asks him his name, and rightfully so, Cad Bane doesn't give it back. He says that, basically he gives him a warning: don't be sticking your nose in business that isn't yours, right? He gives him that choice to make, right? He's basically making the choice for him in a way. That's what dishonorable people do. They take choices away from people, right? He's paid for a job, and he's doing that one task, and he's taking out the people that could help Boba succeed in his end game. Even though Cad Bane has no idea what that end game is, apparently. But how cool does that character look? I mean, if you watched the episodes of Clone Wars and the Bad Batch, of course, go do so. But um, this is just one of those instances where I would have never thought in a million years I would have seen this character in live action. The fact that they pulled it off so well. Corey Burton comes back with that wonderful voice. The sharp teeth, ladies and gentlemen. Rita Durant from Solo: A Star Wars Story would be so proud seeing those sharp teeth. He's got that blue tone to his skin. It's just so menacing. The hat looks great too. I mean, come on. It doesn't look foolish or outlandish. He looks really, really cool as just the character design, and they have this wonderful banter of words that are almost enough of an act. There's just an emotional action between the two of them, emotional battle before they even fire those quick blaster bolts at each other. That is just a really, really, really well done scene. I'm really proud that that's in the Book of Boba Fett. So that might overall be my favorite action sequence in a series that has so many wonderful action sequences. Of course, there's the climactic battle between Boba and Cad Bane in the season finale, which is, I talked at length with Dan about how that fight represents the willingness to change and be a good leader, right? There's also the whole instance of the riding the Rancor, the knee rockets. I mean, these, of course, are all in the last episode, but there's the showdown, the good fight with for the Darksaber in episode 5. There's the whole fight in Bib Fortuna's palace in episode 4. The whole train heist sequence. There are many great action sequences all throughout the course of the Book of Boba Fett, but this particular one, for the emotional weight of it and what it does to a character that we've had a little bit of time with from The Mandalorian season 2 and Cobb Vanth, and he was such a standout character in that series. I mean, kudos to everybody in the team for making this done and putting it together in such a cohesive and impactful way. I'm really proud of that. The last thing I wanted to touch on here is the last kind of bit of conversation that Boba Fett and Fennec Shand had at the end of the season, where I interpreted it separately, but now that I've had time to think about it a bit more, I've looked at it in a different way now, and it's when Boba's like, "I'm not too sure that I'm cut out to be a ruler here," as the people of Tatooine are just overall thanking him. they're moving on, they're rebuilding their lives, they're rebuilding the community, they're starting fresh again right after all the damage and destruction of the season finale. There's just something that there shows that they're moving on, and like that question of, I'm not sure if this is for me, right? And then Fennec has that quip back where she's like, if not us, then who? Now, at the time, I thought that it went, of course, the post-credit scene basically cuts then to Cobb Vanth being in the Bacta tank, getting healed. He's still alive after that climactic battle with Cad Bane. But I interpreted it at the time as being, that he should be the one ruling and taking over. Whereas recontextualizing what Fennec said, like, Boba is an honorable leader. Maybe he should be the one leading these people, even though he has this distrust for being a leader, and maybe he doesn't feel right, doesn't feel fully settled. He maybe has an imposter syndrome, so to speak, in the real world sense of being in this role, and it's jarring, it's new to him, it's something that he's never done before. It's a change that he personally has to accept too. As we learned throughout the course of history, and I'm a student of history first and foremost when it comes to like my personal life, I study history. That's kind of the thing that I do. Those typically in history, those that do not want power are the ones that are meant to be leaders. They're the ones meant to be rulers. They're already approaching it from a right headspace where they're not in it for the wrong reasons, right? They're not in it for the dishonorable way of their own personal self gratification, their own self gain, their own self interest, their own self want. They're not in it for that. They're in it to grow a society, grow a community together, become better overall, and empower other people to achieve their goals and dreams and let them make their own choices, right? That at the end of the day is honorable. That is being a leader. And that is coming to a forefront as to what all of this series is talking about when it comes to the thematics of it all. So that, ladies and gentlemen, is kind of some of my last thoughts about the Book of Boba Fett. Of course, we're going to keep talking about it. I've mentioned it several times in this episode already. We're going to be talking about the episode. We're going to be talking about this series. We're going to be talking about Boba Fett. This character is not going away. He's still alive. He's still going to be kicking. I imagine he'll probably come back in some way, shape, or form in the upcoming series that are going to be on Disney Plus, and I'm looking forward to all that. But I hope you all enjoyed this wonderful series as well at home. Go make sure you go listen to our past episodes about this. I think we've covered a lot of it in great detail, and I'm very proud of the work that we've produced here at Forest Ghost Conversations when it comes to covering this series. And I hope we get to do that for all the series coming up, whether it be Andor, Kenobi, you name it. I'm looking forward to discussing it all, talking about all the great themes again, and seeing what it means for the overall Star Wars universe at large. But with that, everyone, I hope that you all have a great week. That's the end of this episode. Please be sure to follow us on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, YouTube. We're on all those sites. Come join the conversation with us. There's plenty of room around the campfire. We'd love to bring you into the fold and hear your opinions about Star Wars and what makes you geek out about the galaxy far, far away. The conversation is open to everybody, ladies and gentlemen. Let's keep building this wonderful community around us here. With that, I hope you all have a great week. We'll be back next week with a brand new episode talking about something in the world of Star Wars. I mean, we had all this wonderful news this past week here. So there will be certainly something new to break down and discuss as the week unfolds. So may the Force be with you all, and we'll be back next week with something else to talk about. Enjoy, everyone. Take care.